Hello guys and welcome back. Airsick Hydra here, and today's video is going to be a serious one, talking about some of the terminology and some of the advertising used by Neocore for Inquisitor Martyr. That's right, in this video we're going to be discussing the use of the words open world and sandbox within their marketing strategy for Inquisitor Martyr. The purpose of this video though, it's not to criticise, it's not even to condemn. It's just to question and to raise some issues and to reflect on the use of these terms within the current game style and game stance. Now, do remember, the game is still in development, so this video may become redundant with time as new features are coming out, and also take into consideration that more content is coming that we may or may not know about as the roadmap is being reviewed and changed. I am told it will be back, quote, soon. So, in this video, what I'm going to do is firstly define the terms open world and sandbox, because anywhere you look at Inquisitor Martyr, they've used these words to describe the game and how it plays out. So, starting up for me, and this is based on personal experience, but hopefully many of you will agree with the majority of this. But firstly, within an open world game, in terms of choice, you have a choice of physical direction that you can move in. Normally you've got a 360-degree arc that you can move your character, you can manipulate your character in, and you can pick a direction to go in. This is a pretty standard feature now for the types of games. Picture Elder Scrolls, for example. You can spin your character around, you can even visually look around and see places that you haven't been yet and decide to go there. This is where the sense of exploration comes from in these games. And the sense of open world and exploration, it really goes hand in hand. Now, obviously, Inquisitor Martyr has gone for a different route, or rather it's gone for a different genre of game altogether. We do have a choice in terms of where we go. We have the choice of choosing planets and missions within a star map and star sector, so we have lots of planets, lots of missions. There is a lot of things to choose. However, every one of them is an instance, so it's a predefined layer of map that you can go to. What I want you to ask yourself is this: if you took the Elder Scrolls, if you took away, hopefully you guys have played the game, but if you take away the main map, leaving you with just the dungeons and the caves, etc., that you can go and explore, and if instead of walking around the main map from dungeon to dungeon, and if you had to click on them and then it gave you an animation of you moving there, is it still open world? Because clearly Inquisitor Martyr is saying, okay, we're going to simulate you moving from planet to planet, and we're going to call this a sort of a form of exploration, so it's open world. Is it really? I'm going to leave that with you guys. But simulated movement for this type of game is a difficult one to justify in terms of it being truly open world, because, well, we're used to our character navigating the world. Now, what you can do as a sort of a spin-off, if you take Star Wars The Old Republic, or you take something like Mass Effect, for example, you go down to a planet and then it's open world. So you pick and you click on a planet to go to, zoom, 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 you fly there, and then you can explore and look around. There'll be missions there, but you move from place to place. This, again, to many players, is what open world feels like. And, well, it has to be said with Inquisitor Martyr's current layout, even though they're adding more stuff, and of course we do have to wait for what's being added, but currently, with it all being instanced, I would say it's less open world than Diablo 3 is in terms of how the game actually plays. You're not walking from zone to zone. You're clicking to load and to be simulated to be travelling from zone to zone. It's a very small change, but it really does make a difference in terms of how open it feels. Now, number two, I think, is another key ingredient for an open world game, is when you are inside a game that is advertised as open world, is you're normally faced with a vast array of options as to how you want to play. Now, this is tricky because, technically speaking, this is an RPG feature. Many people are confused between open world and RPG, and to what goes with what. Walking around the world picking flowers and going into a shop stealing items, that action itself is tied to an RPG. not to the fact that it's open world. Now, it's true that in an open world you can do all of these things, and RPGs really suit the open world setting because you can do a variety of things in a huge, vast open space, which really makes an open world RPG what it is. In an ARPG, though, we do have to respect the fact that playstyle is limited to really combat. In a top-down game, it's really difficult to introduce other elements like flower picking or being a master of pottery. You're not going to be walking into shops stealing things in a top-down game. There's just not the same level of character immersion. It's a top-down ARPG, and therefore some players I feel are coming into the game associating the word open world with RPG and therefore expecting those open world RPG elements to be within this game. So they may well be disappointed, and this isn't Neocore's fault because it's not, they can't determine what words people associate with what game types, but I think there is an expectation of open world games now. Even though technically the star map is an open world of sorts, people will have some preconceived notions that they're bringing to this. Now that leads me neatly onto the other variable that I think really defines an open world. That is that I could be going from A to B, I could be walking from here to there, and I might come across a cave, and I decide the mission that I'm on at the moment doesn't interest me enough, and I'm going to go in this cave instead. I can literally, in a split second, abandon what I'm doing and change my mind and completely change my direction. And that can't really be done in an instanced game. Now you definitely can add items into quests, so you could be halfway through an instance, you could find an item that introduces a new piece of the star map. You can do things that way, but at the end of the day, it's not an instantaneous decision to change your direction. It's a case of, okay, I found an item, it's going to make a new quest. Let me finish my current investigation and then I can proceed with this quest. It's a very, very different feeling that you've made that choice to change direction. Inside an instance game, it feels more like, okay, I've gained access to a new mission, which I can click on and instantly start. But again, it's not that you really feel like you're in control. Food for thought, something to think about. And lastly, I'd like to talk about the use of the term sandbox, okay? Because sandbox has also been used, and this comes with a lot of preconceived notions as well. A sandbox is an area where you play. I mean, ignore game genres, but they chose the word sandbox for a reason. But a sandbox is an area in which you can be creative, imaginative, and you can play. Okay, the P word is essential here. There can be conflict within sandbox games. There can be creation and destruction, but normally the emphasis is on freedom and unrestricted expression and doing whatever the hell you want to do, whatever way you want to do it. Obviously there's preconceived laws of physics, etc. within the game, but there is really a sense of doing things your way. Typical games that are sandbox are obviously Minecraft, you're creating stuff. Anything that's like a Lego game where you build something, like a Sim City, that's kind of sandbox to a degree, you're making something. But also GTA, that is also sandbox because you're in a sandbox, okay, it's a city, and you get to do whatever the hell you want to do. There is so much variation. I can walk down the street pretending or role-playing to be a hooker. I can go in a car, run down the road, run over hookers. You can do so many different things in the game. Don't all revolve around hookers, by the way. You can also rob banks. You could do whatever. It's a roleplay game as well. And that is something, again, we've got to take into account. Sandbox games, typically, if they are on this like first-person perspective, they're more suited to the roleplay. But again, we find ourselves lacking with Inquisitor Martyr. Now, what we have currently is going to be added to within the game. So anyone that's saying what we have at the moment is not sandbox and what we have at the moment is not blah blah blah, go on their website. Go and look on their YouTube channel at the open world trailer. It explains to you what they've actually pitched for this game. anyone that criticises, or rather anyone that bought this game and saw the word open world and thought, okay, I'll jump in, and then moans that it's not like Elder Scrolls, I'm sorry, but this is not the place to have a moan. You did not look at what you were buying. Yes, the term's potentially not accurate, but at the end of the day, you didn't actually look into the product you're going to buy in enough detail. However, I do think they could be doing a better job of marketing, and let's finish up on Sandbox here. What are we creating in Inquisitor Martyr? What did they promise us in this video content? Well, they mentioned the decisions you make will have an influence on the sector. You can, and we don't know exactly what this entails, but there will be a story per sector as such. And players, cabals, inquisitions, things will have a tangible effect on what's happening in that. Now, to me, sounds like some form of faction system. It sounds like an open story system. It sounds like an influence system. It sounds non-linear, but it doesn't sound like it's a sandbox, because you're not actually creating anything. You're having an effect on things by the actions you do. And that's like saying in the old Fable games, where in a quest at the end you choose to kill someone instead of saving them. That doesn't make it a sandbox game. Now, no matter how many decisions you do, even if it determines some NPC placement and enemy placement, etc., is that still really sandbox? I would say when we've got games like Minecraft out there where you're creating, you know, you want to feel like you're a kid with some Lego if you're in a sandbox game, or you want to feel like you're not the god, but you're in charge of the area. You are determining what's going on in this place. That's a sandbox game. And I don't think Inquisitor is. But in reflection, there are elements of Inquisitor Martyr that are open world-ish. There are elements that are sandbox or might be sandbox-ish. But here's my problem. If they're advertising the game as being open world, it comes with a very, very high standard to live up to. With the open world features of Elder Scrolls, for example, I think you can't live up to that. And if someone is seeing that word and buying the game on that premise, they will be disappointed. Here's my suggestion, okay? Because I don't think we should just give up, because it is an open system and it is an improvement on many ARPG systems. I think it's really fair to call this an open system, because it's an open star system, fair enough. Still, people will buy it and they'll complain that it's not like Mass Effect where you can go to a planet and wander around, etc. There's no sense of exploration. That's fair enough. Technically the word open is a little bit misleading there still, but it's much better suited. Open star system. You could put that as a subgenre of open world. Technically you've not changed your marketing strategy at all. You've just narrowed it down a little bit to be more specific. Yes, you're going to come under a little bit of fire from it. People are going to say, whoa, 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 why are you changing your mind, blah, blah, blah. There may be a little bit of conflict, but I really think if you change the terminology now, and this is me speaking you directly, Neocore, this is a plea from me, I really think you need to do this. And 5 years ago, we would be having a different conversation, because 5 years ago, there wasn't the colossal fuck-up that was Eternal Crusade. Eternal Crusade has caused problems for Warhammer because they promised a genre, an MMO, open world, and they delivered something shitty. And fair enough, it's a fairly good shooter, so I hear, but it's not what they promised. And here's the thing. People will have this conversation. Hey, did you hear about Inquisitor Martyr? Yeah, they promised an open world sandbox game. They didn't deliver on it. Oh man, it's just another EC. That's going to be a conversation that's going to happen if people are really expecting these features. So what you either need to do is you need to be so crystal clear about what you're giving these players and to set their expectations. The trailers need to show you that when you go down to a planet, you're going into an instance. They need to show you that you're not wandering around a vast open world. They need to show you that it's a top-down ARPG, and I know you guys have done a pretty good job of advertising that already, but just make it easy. Just change it from open world to open system. That's just my suggestion. I could be wrong. You might be introducing areas where you walk from mission to mission, and I eat my words and I'm like, you know what, whoa, this is actually a little bit open world now. But as it stands at current... technically your star map is open world, but the gameplay is far less open world than Diablo 3 was, and Diablo 3 never advertised as being open world. That is our problem in a nutshell. Guys, you've been really patient with this. It's been a long video. Remember, hit the like button. If you're still here, hit the goddamn subscribe button. Remember, there is the Warhammer Fest coming up on the weekend. Man, that is so goddamn hype. Going to be doing an interview with the devs. I've even been promised spicy leaks. How about that? Guys, have a great week. Speak soon. Take care.